Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Kungpaokenny Podcast. Today, I have a new guest. I have a very special guest today. We're going back to the realm of League of Legends, and today I have here with me Sean, or we can call him as gamer tag Shinchin, I guess.
Hello.
Sean. So before we begin, let's get a short introduction of yourself, what you do, who you are. Very simple.
Of course. I'm a support player who's been playing Collegiate for the past 3 years for University of British Columbia, and I've also played, I think, on one or two teams of amateur. And currently, I'm also a streamer because I recently found out that I cannot compete because I'm an international student. Um, Aside from that, I reached Challenger this season, which was a huge milestone for me. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
All right, congrats! I saw that post on
Thank you.
Twitter. So let's just dive right in. I want to go over first of all your experience with Collegiate League of Legends.
Hmm.
So I think it's not that much of a surprise for a lot of people that I think the collegiate and the amateur scenes are a little smaller compared to the competitive scenes, obviously. But
Hmm.
in your opinion, after you've gone through this entire collegiate process and you've competed for 3 years, what do you think are the main problems that you feel the collegiate scene suffers from? And I think a lot of people have this large confusion between like the collegiate scene and the amateur scene. Some
Hmm.
people are in school, some people aren't in school, but they're both still competing pretty much to go into the LCS or into the pro scene. So let's
Hmm.
start with the problems that you first see in the collegiate League of Legends.
Well, I think the collegiate League of Legends, the two biggest problems that would come into mind is recognition and funding. Let's take the example of UBC, right? Um, there basically isn't any funding except for maybe one or two tournament entry plus jersey. And while that's pretty nice already, compared to some university like Maryville and stuff like that, they have private facility. Some of their students have full ride and stuff like that. Um, they have a lot more incentive to play compared to, let's say, like our team. And a major factor that comes into mind is that if I'm a good player, I could go play an amateur and I could get like a pretty good team and I could compete in a really really high level. But if I'm a good player, I might not get in a good team if I'm in UBC, Like it depends on the resources and the players that's available at UBC. So that's like some big factors that really come into mind when it comes to collegiate because you're kind of restricted by your location, right? In the case of UBC, we're restricted because we don't have much like financial resources, and we also have like um, a limited amount of players, and we don't have scholarship to incentivize these players or new players to come either. So it's really hard to streamline and make a good team or make a team that's competitive enough that players would want to play, I guess.
Mm, okay. Um,
Mhm.
so you mentioned strength of players. So specifically, I
Yes.
wanted to ask, do you feel like there is a specific gap between um NA and Canada? Sorry, I guess it's all NA, but like more like the US and Canada in terms of their players, in terms of the pools of players. Do you feel like in general Canada just gets more like less resources in general than North America? Do you feel?
Um, yeah, I do think so. But that reminds me of something funny. One time I was playing solo queue, and someone saw my UBC tag. That was back then when tag was still available.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent me a Reddit post and said why Canadians are destroying the NA League of Legends scene. And then I was reading it and I was like, how does that make any sense? And then they listed all the Canadian pros and said how they were doing poorly whenever they go pro. And I was like, wow, that's actually ridiculous.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's to do with like well, let's go more into the specific and talk about collegiate, right? In the case of collegiate, there's definitely more like U.S. university that offers scholarship. There's also more U.S. universities that are specifically catered to esports.
Mm.
Like aside from scholarship, they also have like really well done esports program for casters, for coordinators, for players. Like Saints College, for example. I remember they also have really good programs like that. But yeah, overall, I think Canada lacks some of those resources. Um, it's a shame because I think there are some good Canadian players, but at the same time, like the program's not streamlined well enough that these players are able to shine, or you just don't get enough recognition for playing in collegiate unless you win or go maybe like second place or third place. Um, I mean that's why you get people like Niles who do really well and gets a lot of recognition from the start, and I think that's a good thing personally.
Okay. So I think as time has gone by, so you mentioned NALCS, which is actually a specific example that I really wanted to bring up. Do you
Mhm,
feel like there's some sort of, it feels to me like from an outside perspective, because honestly I don't play
mhm,
that much League.
mhm,
Sorry, not that much League, but I don't play League at a high enough level for it to matter. But
mhm,
do you feel like I feel like there's this mesh between collegiate teams, amateur teams, and then academy teams on some level. Do you feel like that there's a big gap between collegiate and amateur, making it
mm,
to the academy system? Do you feel like there's actually advantages of people going through the academy? Like, do you think, like, I guess from this question, I really wanted to ask you, what do you feel like the best path is to become a pro League of Legends player? Because we've seen Niles graduate from college, and we've seen the academy system become a farm for a lot of
mm.
players that go into the LCS. What do you think would be the best system? How do you want the system to look personally?
Well, as of right now, I
Mm,
would say that the amateur system is definitely better than the collegiate system
mm,
because I think there's just a lot more resources. There's a lot more attention being paid to the amateur scene,
mm-hmm.
especially recently with like some academy teams dropping games against amateur teams, right? And that's also stuff that you rarely see because you never see collegiate teams play against academy teams. You know, there's just really very little recognition when it comes to collegiate teams, unless if you like win collegiate. Like the collegiate players know each other,
Hmm.
but outside of that, people don't really know the collegiate players that well. Like aside from maybe like the Maryville peeps,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think definitely amateur has a way better streamlined process when it comes to trying to get a person into pro, especially with the way Proving Ground is set up. Um, and I think
Do you mind going into
collegiate.
that a little bit, like how Proving Grounds is set up specifically to help amateurs instead of collegiate?
Well, first of all, like collegiate teams just don't sign up in Proving Grounds,
Mm,
and Proving Grounds has a lot of teams. Like for example, let me TSM starting their amateur team, right? And there's other teams like 100 Thieves next and stuff like that. So automatically you're already being seen. So when you're playing in Proving Grounds, you're automatically being observed
mm,
directly from people that's from these esports organization.
yeah.
You know, if I play in collegiate, no one from 100 Thieves, no one from TSM is ever gonna see these performance unless if they really go out of their way. But maybe like 100 Thieves next, they're playing in a game and their coach sees, oh wow, this support is playing really well, and that's directly already some like exposure, right?
Hmm.
So in some sense, that is a lot more helpful, and that with the addition that there's just more viewership and in general like more talk and more discussion in the amateur scene than collegiate, makes me think that I think amateur scene is just a better way into pro than collegiate for
So it's just like an additional question to go off that. If there was a new
sure.
person coming into, let's say UBC or something, or UC
Hmm.
Irvine, or some freshman undergraduate,
Hmm.
and their dream is to go into Pro League of Legends, would you advise them not to go through the collegiate path and try and find an amateur team, or go through into the
Oh,
collegiate team?
um, I feel like in some ways I'm directly dooming
uh,
UBC if I say, hey, like, don't play for collegiate.
yeah.
But at the same time, like, if we're trying to be realistic, I
Mm,
would say that unless if you think your team has a fair chance of doing well into playoffs and maybe like making into semi
yeah.
or top two, I don't think collegiate is that worthwhile.
Okay.
I think you have a better chance going in. Like, let's say if you're like a challenger or grandmaster player and you're really trying to improve, and you're trying to get as much exposure as possible. I think amateur scene would provide you with more opportunities, and yeah, I think that's it. But
Okay.
but at the same time, it's important to keep in mind that in amateur, sometimes the process is not as organized, so you might get into like really scuffed process or uh really scuffed teams. So if you want to go into amateur, you have to remember that it could be a little bit more riskier,
Yeah.
and you just have to pay attention to the kind of deal you're signing up for and like the kind of players you're playing with, I guess.
I think that's really important, friends. If you are a freshman, if you're trying to be pro, please read your contracts, figure out what's going on because there's a lot of scams out there
Yeah.
feeding on your dreams. Anyway, so I think we've gone over this whole amateur collegiate thing enough, and I really want to move on to the fact that recently on Twitter you talked about the struggle of not being able to participate in the NA Proving Grounds because you are an international student and because of that status. Do you mind going through that entire problem, why you couldn't participate, and like, obviously how that made you feel?
Right. Well, I can't participate in Proving Grounds Tier 2 or above, because I'm an international student, and that's just a rule that's been there, unless if you're playing for an academy team, which I had a Twitter discussion about the past few days, which we find weird because it's like, why can only academy teams have technically imports, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here for 3 years, but technically, I guess I count as an import. But yeah, strangely enough, only academy teams can have imports. So I also found out recently that it's not really just me that has issues like this. There's other international students. Like I don't know if you like go on Twitter a lot, but there's someone named Asik, and he's like a really big
ASIC, yeah, for
league
sure.
Twitter, right? And I was telling him just yesterday, and he was telling me about how he wanted to go pro, but he's also an international student, and he's also limited in that sense. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that there were, like so many. Well, I say so many, but I didn't realize there was other people who's also facing the same struggle. And in some sense, I guess let's talk about like how I feel about that. It's shameful, really. Like it's, well, sorry, not shameful. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the past 2 or 3 years, I have in collegiate and some amateur teams, I have spent a lot of time trying to improve shot calling, trying to improve the way I play, and I don't know how to explain it. When I was younger, I never said I wanted to go pro, never ever, because I don't think it's just like those words are not very realistic, and it's really annoying to put unrealistic words into like action because you like some part of me just think it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and the worst thing is when you get close enough. I think that's the worst thing when it comes to being good at League of Legends. When you get close enough that you're like, if I improve like a little bit more, maybe I can go pro. That's when that's where you're between the line of like, oh, like being optimistic and between the line of being delusional.
Yeah.
And being able to balance that is a very like stressful thing.
Yeah.
So it's a shame because playing in the LCS stage, in any shape or form, has always been like a dream of mine. Like I hate to put it in words even right now, but it has been. And to know that, oh, like that is kind of wiped away as an opportunity because I'm an international student. It's just it's a shame, especially since I've put a decent amount of work. I've put in a decent amount of work and effort, I guess.
So essentially, there's no path for you to get into the LCS even if you wanted to right now.
Well, the only path would be if I get so good that an academy team wants to pick me up. Or if I graduate from college and like get PR, that's also an option.
So sorry if you don't mind me asking, where are you originally from, Sean?
Oh, I was from Hong Kong.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was born in Taiwan, raised in Hong Kong. I came here like 3 and 4 years ago.
Okay, sounds good. So I wanted to also bring up something else that you mentioned while you were talking about that. In that you said that there was a point where you always thought being pro was a very far-fetched dream, maybe playing in the LCS stage was a very far-fetched dream. When did you feel like that dream became tangible for you and it felt grabbable? Because I felt like a lot of the times, for a long time I really love esports, right? I'm still into Dota. I still do a lot of stuff for Dota and stuff. But I felt like I never really, I got into UBC esports like a year and a half ago, and then I graduated from UBC. But I think it was really when I got into UBC esports and started doing a lot of stuff where I felt like that dream of maybe doing esports with my life was a tangible thing. And I felt like that was always a very jarring moment for me. So I'd really love to hear your moment.
Yeah. I think overall, just trying to do anything in esports has always been like a difficult thing for a lot of people that's in the scene, especially if you're new to it, because there's like an overwhelming amount of obstacles, especially when it comes to going pro. I think because, well, you have the obstacle of like getting good. That's the first thing, and you also have the obstacle of like overcoming your friends and families and maybe like the cultural expectation that they
Yeah,
have.
yeah. Yeah, I was about to
So
bring up the
that's
fact that
why
you're Asian. That must have made it kind of difficult, like a lot more difficult. Like, you
that's
can't.
why that's why I say that like it's hard for me to put those thoughts into words, right? Because for me to really confidently say, "Hey, I want to go pro," um, in some ways also against some of the beliefs that was taught to me, and also some of the beliefs that the society has, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, uh, when I found out that I want to be pro, or when I really tried to pursue this, I guess would be um, I think when I hit Grandmaster last season or something. That's when I realized that okay, I can hit Challenger. I can definitely hit Challenger. I can definitely like get better, and yeah, that's when I tried really hard, worked on my goals, tried to play for amateur teams so I can learn as much as I could. Yeah, and then this year I found out that I can't play Improving Grounds, but I guess like that's why I said it's difficult because there's really a fine line between being optimistic and delusional. Because I've
Yeah.
heard like Diamond 2, Diamond 1 players talk about like how they want to go pro,
Hmm.
and in some ways it is tangible for some players, but only for those that are willing to work for it.
Hmm.
Not for those that just like kind of just play solo queue for fun and then just like talk about wanting to go
Okay.
pro. Because like the way you talk doesn't really shape how you're gonna treat your
Hmm.
environment and like how you're gonna improve. It's a lot more to do with action, I
Okay.
guess.
So I would really like to get into that a little bit more. So you talk about, some
Mm,
Diamond One player really wanting to go pro, and obviously that's very far fetched. That's not even
mm,
that feels very far away, right? But
mm.
so what do you feel like differentiates that person who just says that they want to be a pro and to someone who is working towards, like, what is the grind that separates that? Like, is it just solo queue? Is it genuinely like going through your replays every single time? How do you feel like you're getting better? How do you get better at such high of a level, essentially?
Well, I think getting better at higher level requires a lot of So NA is kind of known for its ego when it comes to solo
For
queue,
sure.
in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I personally find it to be like a very toxic thing.
Yeah.
So I think a very important thing when it comes to trying to improve is to drop the ego. Is to understand that some games you're gonna play like shit. Some games you're gonna play good. And from those games you have to learn, how am I playing good? How am I playing like shit? And being able to understand the process of how to play better and how to improve from there, watching your replay, watching very, very top tier pros replay, and being able to learn from that is a very, very important aspect when it comes to improving in higher level of gameplay. Because the thing I've noticed about people that reach Diamond 1 or Master is that I don't know if it's because they hang out with friends that are lower elo with them, or something, but they just tend to have like this crazy ego, and every time something goes wrong in a game, instead of trying to figure out how to win, they just start typing. And when you start typing, there's just no learning to be had. It's just like, I don't know, it's just criticism focused on one person, and no one is learning anything. So yeah, I guess muting people, focusing on yourself, and also remembering that some games you are gonna play bad, and being able to learn from that is also like pretty important.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I will get into the whole solo queue experience, but I actually want to get in that later when we talk about the more game specific stuff. So I actually wanted to go like move on from this topic and move to the fact that you are now streaming, as you had mentioned before.
Yes,
Um,
sure.
I see that you've been streaming quite regularly. I follow you on
Mhm,
Twitter. I checked in your stream
mhm.
yesterday. I followed you on Twitch yesterday.
Thank
Um,
you.
so how is that experience so far? And yeah, do you have any fellow advice for like another content creator on the other side of the screen and all the other content creators out there? What do you feel like you've learned so far?
Well, streaming, I think it's a pretty interesting process overall
Hmm.
because um, it's kind of not like YouTube videos where you can streamline it towards a really well, you can streamline it towards a really specific audience and like frame it in a very specific time frame and stuff like that. But I think for streaming, sometimes you have to get lucky. Like when you get lucky, you just have to be I don't know how to explain it. Like for example, right, when I'm playing solo queue and I'm playing with like a streamer or something, and I post my link, and I would get a lot more views. I would count that as being very lucky because that is one specific way of increasing my viewership that maybe uh, lower ranked streamers won't have the opportunity of, right? So in that sense, that's pretty lucky. But overall, I have found the streaming process to be extremely rewarding, even without like hosts or raids or like getting viewers from other streams. I personally find it really rewarding. I think I started like around a month and a half ago, and I've been streaming 5 to 6 days per week, 6 to 7 hours every day. Um, it is tiring at first. When I started, I was playing so poorly on stream that I was like losing like Diamond 2, Diamond 1 games because I literally just have no clue what's going on, and I'm trying to read chat, and I have no idea what's going on my screen. I can't see the fucking mini map. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, but it is rewarding because I personally find it to be just like a hangout in the afternoon because I like to see people in my chat come in, check in, talk about how their day went, and then I get to give some feedback.
Yeah.
And I really like that process. I like the idea that somehow me playing some League of Legends on the screen is uh, just able to help someone relax during their day. Like it's so ridiculous to me even till this day that like I get like loyal viewers that come in to watch me and talk to me about their day. It's so crazy to me. It's
Yeah.
actually so insanely like rewarding. Like um I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, so I'm very thankful to my viewers and also like just in general for people that support me overall. Um I guess like tips for fellow content creators: be patient. I think. I think being patient is important. I'm also working on that myself. Because when you're doing this like 5 to 6 days a week, even if you're like editing video or if you're like streaming, you have to just remember that whatever you're grinding at is just part of the process. It's part of the process, and you have to learn to like that process. And if you're unable to do it, you're just gonna have such a hard time.
Yeah.
And if you're so focused on the outcome, like oh, like this YouTube video only got like 100 views, this YouTube video only got like 70 views,
Yeah.
it's gonna be difficult for your mental because you're gonna like it's gonna slowly wear off your mental, and you're gonna have a hard time trying to like continue streaming or continue making videos because that's where that's where the struggle really is, right? Because at the start you just feel like, oh, I'm nowhere close to where all the big people are. I'm not even remotely like close to like stuff. But as long as you're observing like some growth and observing that, hey, like there are some stuff that's working out,
Yeah.
then you know you're kind of on the right path. You just got to remember that it's important to be patient, I think.
Cool. I think that's really good advice. I think the growth mindset thing is really, yeah, just really good advice. I fuck with that. Okay. So now that we moved on from like a lot of your streaming and your collegiate career, I do want to ask you, specific questions about the game, especially
Mhm.
as a person, who's quite high elo. So I want to start with the question that's been on everyone's minds this season: is support broken, Sean?
Absolutely yes. Yes, absolutely yes. I
Okay.
think support is a broken role. And I find it interesting when my fellow support mains don't really admit to that. Uh, well, I wonder if it's like to do with just a lack of game knowledge, or if it's just like just not wanting to admit that your role is broken. Because I remember when people first started having discussion about support being strong, I was like, I feel like jungle is still a bit stronger. But now I'm like, I'm pretty sure support is the strongest role. And the reason why support is the strongest role is because they're not really limited by any resources. Like for example, like let's take the example of Leona. Um, in lane, all I have to do is hit a few minions, and I'm already generating a sustainable amount of gold. And that's all that matters. If I went to V2, sure, it kind of matters, but it doesn't. The reality is, right now, the patch and the meta is revolved around playing around your jungle, securing dragons, securing crabs, and trying to generate gold. And support just has the ability to rotate without getting punished financially,
Yeah.
right? So support can just like like I've had games where like we play 2v2 and then we lose 2v2, and then I'm just like, you know what, fuck my ADC. And I literally just run in my jungle to their top side, invade their jungle on top side, right? And right now my ADC might be struggling bot lane. But my jungler and my top laner are getting kills top side, getting gold, getting plates, getting the red buff maybe. And stuff like that is crazy because support is the only role in the game that can turn like that can completely play to the win condition that they want. Like if I want my, let's say I'm playing like how do I say this? Let's say if I have a Fiora top lane, okay, and I know that if I give Fiora 2 kills in top lane, I'll win the game. I can just rotate top lane and help my Fiora get kills, and when I do that, I automatically are planning and trying to achieve the win con, which is having Fiora fed and playing the split lane, and that's crazy. Support is the only lane that can do that. I mean, jungle can play towards a certain lane, right? But first of all, that's how the role is supposed to be played, and second of all, jungle is like a lot easier to track because they're limited by their camps.
Yeah.
Like if you know that their jungler started bot side, you kind of have a sense of where they're gonna path for the next few minutes and stuff
Respawn
like that.
timers, blah blah blah. You kind of just know.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And when a jungler paths weirdly, they are getting punished because they're not clearing their camps on the right
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
But
And
when a
especially in this meta,
support
when it's-
paths weirdly, the only punish they can have is when they try to dive your ADC.
Yeah.
But if you're like just thinking about the game correctly and you're playing your waves with your ADC correctly, you should have like a lot of roam timers. And when you play those roam timers correctly, it's just a completely different game because it's not a 2v2 at bot lane. It's about like how often you're with your jungle, how often you're punishing enemy jungle for walking up and stuff like that.
So I would like to bring up this fact that like, so I guess you would say, at least my view from like the pro games that I watch and the few games that I play, a lot of this patch is about this trinity of mid, jungle, and support having agency throughout the early game and being able to move in a lot of places and do a lot of things to you know increase your win percentage or play towards your win condition, right? How do you so do you feel like this form of support is what you enjoy? Do you feel like there should be more financial, like should supports be losing more for their roams and having this agency on the map? Should they be going back to that ward bot really poor style of support, or do you feel like this is a better way to play it?
Well, I personally think that right now support just has way too much agency, and that's why I think it's the broken role, right? Because as I said, you can play to any win condition of your choice, and I think just in general, not having financial restriction on a role is just a bit ridiculous because as I said earlier, all that matters is I walk into lane, I clear 2-3 minions, help my ADC push one wave, and then I'm gonna be like not seeing my ADC for like the next 3 minutes, and that's like I don't know how Riot really thinks about support overall as a role because maybe they did design the system such that like support is supposed to be like roaming a lot, right? But at the same time, I think it's slightly unhealthy when it comes to like solo queue, because the fact that support have so much agency means that if I'm playing against like a support who doesn't really know what they're doing, um, or maybe they're playing like a Lulu or Janna or something, and I'm playing Leona, I don't need to play 2v2. I don't need to do anything. I just gotta like play with my jungler and we'll perma kill the enemy jungler. And that's like a really unhealthy way for the game to be played because the enemy jungler will have such a rough time and they're just gonna be like, why is my support like not rotating, blah blah blah, and like I don't know. I just don't really feel like that kind of playstyle should be as rewarding as it is. I feel like maybe somehow support should be restricted to stay in lane a little bit more. Maybe like I don't really know how they do it. I had this idea, but I don't really know if it worked. Is if you like, let's say, assign a partner at the start of the game, right? Let's say if you're a support, you assign a partner at the start of the game, usually your ADC, and you have to stay with your partner for like 6 minutes in lane, or like you have to stay close to your partner for 6 minutes in order for you to get your sight stone.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, that'd be an interesting idea. At least that's something that I came up with, and I was like, maybe that would work because right now support can get their sightstone even if they're at mid lane, right? Because they just gotta hit the minions, right? So when you roam, you literally get zero punish, and it's unhealthy for the ADC because he kind of have to play 1v2. It's unhealthy for the enemy jungler because they kind of have to play 1v2. But I guess you could say that it's like, I guess, strategic reward. But I just think it's a little bit ridiculous right
Do you feel like the way that support is played right now kind of invalidates like gapping in lane? Like, do you feel like how much do you feel like it matters that the bot 2v2 wins their lane? Is it just because that the support can roam, or do you feel like that that winning punishing mentality within the bot 2v2 vacuum is like gone now because you're free to roam all the time?
I wouldn't say that for sure. I
Hmm.
definitely think the 2v2 is still extremely important because how well you can 2v2 the opponent also dictates how much you can roam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So because when you're winning 2v2s, right? Automatically the enemy bot lane is gonna be like more afraid to look for plays. They're gonna be way further back in lane. So when you shove waves, you can roam and they would kind of have like no idea where you are because they're not really approaching to try to put wards down. They're not really trying to
Yeah.
get more info to figure out like where your bot lane is. Um so in that sense it's pretty important. And also bot lane is where dragon is. So the fact that if you're actually winning 2v2s, automatically that should translate to early dragons. And
Yeah.
early dragons and dragon win con is also a pretty important factor in the game. So I would say gapping them 2v2 still very rewarding, but that's why I also think like support is broken because when you don't gap them 2v2, you still have other ways to play the game. Whereas if you're playing, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you're playing like top and you got gap 1v1,
Hmm.
like game just feels completely doomed unless if you're playing like a tank or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not really the case for a support. Like you can kind of make mistakes and still get away with it because you have just like that much agency.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Okay, actually we're good on time. So I actually want to this isn't one of the questions that you highlighted, but I actually kind of
Hmm.
really do want to know your answer.
Hmm.
What is your favorite matchup to play in League? Because we were talking about the bot 2v2s.
Oh.
And are there any specific, interactions between two champions that you would feel like you want to talk about that you enjoy? If there isn't, that's fine. Just talk to me about your favorite
Well,
matchup.
I think my favorite interactions to play usually always has Thresh in it
Uh-huh.
because it's just hella rewarding when you play something.
Yeah.
Like even like playing. Okay, it's not a great matchup when you're playing into Leona
Hmm.
because post 6 she can just ult you,
Yeah.
and since you're immobile, you're gonna get comboed. Um, but I do like playing the Thresh Leona interaction just because I feel so nice every time I play the Leona E. Even though like back in the day it was like, oh my god, the Thresh played the Leona E. Now it's like oh, like he played the E. But I
Mm.
still feel good, I still
Yeah,
feel good.
for sure.
So that's usually the lanes I like to play. So maybe like I don't know, like uh I also really like playing with Aphelios whenever I'm playing Thresh
Oh,
because that champion just outputs so much damage. So if I'm peeling correctly and peeling well, it usually is it's just like a really fun time.
okay.
Um, Also, specific interactions that I want to talk about is fucking Rel. Okay, so recently I've been playing so much Rel on my main and my Smurf, um, and I just think Rel is kind of silly because I don't know. Have you seen what Rel does?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So Rel can like when she's on the horse, she can just jump and do
yeah,
this W thing, and it's
yeah,
fucking like long as fuck. And then she ults in the middle of it, and
yeah,
it's
and it
basically the
just
Orianna Shockwave,
yeah, yeah, shockwave,
and
yeah.
it connects them onto the W, and
Hmm.
it like hits them like that. And I think it's just like such a silly way of engaging. It's so OP. I think
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
it's
know how to
broken.
explain it. Like, because the reason why I think it's OP is because it's so guaranteed. That combo is super
I
guaranteed.
think I think that's the thing that I would say too is that like I think that the way that the Rel flash I think it's called Magnet Storm, right? That just pulls
Yeah,
everything in.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think the Flash Magnet Storm thing because I don't know if you've ever played Dota, but I think
Mhm.
it that feels like a Dota interaction to me in that it's pretty unreactable. It's point and click pretty much at this point, and like you can't like I think League as a game is based off of skill shots and landing. Like you have to land something right for it to
Mhm.
start, and I feel like
Mhm.
Magnet Storm goes against that, and that you can just flash it. It's the same thing, right? Like these guaranteed initiations, like Alistar flash into combo, Rel flash into
Mhm.
combo. Like I think these are like the way that League is moving. It feels a lot less like, oh, I'm supposed to be able to dodge these rather than, oh, these are just straight initiations. Like I feel.
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do see that. But my issue with Megastorm is just that first of all, it's a very rewarding CC because
Mm.
it's like it's like 2 or 3 seconds of CC.
Yeah.
Because you W, and then you ult, you suck them in, and then they land on your W, and then you also chain with the E.
Yeah.
And that is just like such a long CC. And it's also like 4 or 3 players. And that's why I think Rill is so strong right now, because let's say if your team's doing Dragon, right? Your team's doing Dragon, and you can just hide in a bush where you're holding what, like, you're looking at one of the entrance of Dragons. And if you see 2 or 3 of their carries walking up, you just Hex Slash, you W ult, and then all of a sudden they just get turned on and they just die instantly. And it's so hard to avoid that play because Rel stands so far back, like from the team, and they're in like a bush or something. So unless if you have like perfect vision and you have 2 frontliners who's like willing to like kind of check out the location for you, it's gonna be so hard to deal with Rel. And I personally think that interaction is a bit unhealthy for the game as well. And in some ways, it kind of reminds me of Galio when you used to be able to W and flash.
Yep.
Like now you can't anymore. But it kind of reminds me of that because the engage is just so guaranteed and it's so annoying, and it holds so much ground that I think that I'm not a big fan of that interaction overall.
For sure, I can definitely see why. So now that we've gone through a lot of the questions, I think this is probably the final questions that I want to ask you, and I really do want to get your opinion on.
For sure.
Is League of Legends a good game, Sean, right now? Is it currently a good game?
Let me think about this actually.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is still a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Although I haven't really gotten much of a chance to try like other games that are getting popular, like for example like Eternal Return. Like a lot of people are like getting into that.
It's pretty fun.
I actually, funny enough, I couldn't even get through the tutorial because I was like, the crafting system's too hard, man.
Difficult,
and I was like, bro. And I had to go on Discord and like have my friend tell me what to do.
Yeah. My friend had to like handhold me throughout most of it, and it seems pretty fun though. It's a pretty fun game.
It does seem pretty fun. I do like the anime style as well, but I think League of Legends is a great game. I think League of Legends is a good game, but I also don't like the items. I'm not a big fan of the season 11 items, just because like I don't find it more fun to watch when I watch pro, when there's like a million more dashes and I see like fucking I don't know, like Nar Stride Breaker them. Like it doesn't. I don't feel like it's that rewarding of an experience to watch.
Yeah.
Nor do I feel like it's that rewarding of an experience to play. I guess specifically in the support role, right? Like, I mean, there isn't that many new items. Like Locket, I always built it anyway, right? And Moonstone Renewer, I guess that's something that's neat. But that even that is like, it's not really that rewarding. You know, I put on a shield, I see their health bar increase a little bit. It's like, wow, sick.
I think Seraphine is peak uninteractive, man. I can't lie to you. Like I guess that's true. I feel a certain type of way about Seraphine.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I do think the new items to me are a bit less fun because there's just like so much. Man, there's just too much going on. I can't tell, man. Like Jin Gale Force on me. The other day I was playing against a Zed, you know, and they go Prowler's Claw. And this is the stupid part. Okay, I was playing support. My ADC was like hella fed, and then you know what the Zed does? The Zed ults me, Prowler's Claw my ADC, and kills the ADC.
Oh wow!
Like how do I prevent that? Like he actually just like he literally didn't even ult my ADC. He just ulted me, Prowler's Claw, and one shot at my ADC. And I was like what? Like I was genuinely so lost. And I'm not saying like I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not that like it's less fun.
Yeah.
It's just annoying that I have to play around so many things and like keep in mind of Prowlers and like Stride Breakers.
So I think I guess I kind of lied about the whole last question thing, because when you say this, it brings me something in my head that I've thought about for a while. So the way that I've just seen the game progress is I feel like there's this issue of like power creep in League of Legends, in that like items are getting way more crazy, like the champions that they release get more and more crazy, or do you feel like there's this issue of power creep such that the newer champions are always feels like they're just trying to one up the previous ones? Like I feel like a lot of where I got that idea was when Pyke was first released, and I looked at that champion and I was like, wait, you have a hook that can pull somebody in, you have invis, you have your health heals, you have an E that can stun and get away for you, and then you have an execute. And then you can think about like Annie or something, who's still in the game, who still can be relevant, but has one Q that's a stun. Yes, it's a point and click stun, and he has timbers. But if you think about the difference in what tools a champion gets now compared to what they used to before, and the items now and what they used to before, like it kind of is crazy to me the progression that the game goes in. Right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like so does Seraphine. That's like a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Like Seraphine is just like in a lot of sense like better Sona.
Yeah.
And then recently, dude, Aki, I don't know what Rad is thinking, but when they released Viego, I was just like, my friends and I always talked about this. Like, I think we have a bet about like when would Viego ever get released in pro play?
Yeah.
Because Viego is such a glitchy ass champion. There's so many stupid interactions. Like for example, like if you die with Karthus, you like turn into Karthus passive and you can like spam Q.
That's funny.
Karthus. Same thing with Scion. Same thing with Anivia. I don't know. Like there's like a lot of strange interaction and also like I don't know how to explain it because his ulti gets like reset every time he like possess someone, so he can just like very easily get multiple kills, kind of similar to Pyke. And the worst part is I don't know if you remember with Pyke, you could only ult enemy, right? So if you ult like a random spot, nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing
But
happens.
Viego is if he ults a random spot, let's say if I kill like your ADC, I possess your ADC, now my ult reset. I can ult away and I'll teleport away. So unlike Pyke, because Pyke, after you ult a few people, at the very least, you're at their backline and maybe you get killed.
It punishes you for missing the execute essentially, or even getting the execute and you can get punished.
Yeah. But like, your positioning is like you'll be so far forward. But with Viego, your ulti gets resetted, and you can just like ult in any direction you want, and you can use it as an escape.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that's so insane. And I cannot imagine that champion ever making the pro play because there's just so many glitches and so many crazy interactions. And I don't even know how you'd cast that. Like Captain Flowers would like have a sore throat after that one. Like he'd be like that guy took Blitzcrank and then lands a hook and then like I don't know like turns into the ADC and lands a thing, like Jinx W or something. Like it's actually so crazy how Viego can be every single champion in the game.
Yeah.
I genuinely do not know what they were thinking. Like it's so
the mechanics is insane. Like I just haven't been playing the game that much. So I haven't really played against Viego or played Viego, but just from what I've seen, that champion looks completely insane to me. And the new one, like Gwen, looks kind of nuts too. I don't even know what she does, but she looks pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that like the thing you were talking about, the power creep thing, is definitely true, right? Okay. Like items, they just want it to be flashier than ever. Same with champions.
Yeah.
I think there are some champions that's like whenever they do rework, I think it's pretty good. Because it's like kind of still true to the character.
I wish they would do reworks more instead of just releasing new champions every 2 months.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Like, what's your favorite rework, by the way?
My favorite rework. Okay, you gotta like kind of remind me who's been reworked. Aatrox has been reworked.
Swain.
Swain has been reworked.
Fiddlestick.
Ooh, I tried Fiddlesticks, man.
Really?
Like, I think Fiddlesticks is like, I don't know. I find that champion really interesting. I think the whole ward thing is really interesting. I know he's like kind of annoying, but I also like I love the lore that he comes with, I guess. Like I love the opening cinematic trailer that they gave for him. I thought that was
that was sick.
It was really cool. Like I love like Riot's storytelling. That's like the one thing that I have to give to Riot every time. The KDA stuff, the lore that they put out, like the Legends of Runeterra cinematics, those are all great. I don't even play the game that much anymore, but I love watching cinematics and stuff.
Oh yeah.
What about you? Favorite reward?
Really, I was playing solo queue and I had a Fiddlestick who was pretending to be a ward.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was so crazy, bro. I cannot tell you. It was legit like a challenger game.
Yeah.
And there was a Fiddlestick player who was sitting in a bush, right? And then he got scanned by a vision plant. Yeah. And he just still.
Yeah.
And then you know what the crazy thing was? And Nidalee walks up to him, and she autos him.
Yeah. And
then my Fiddlestick starts casting the ultimate right as he got autoed.
Oh wow.
And then he killed the Nidalee. And I was like, holy shit, this is the best Fiddlestick player alive.
See, that type of outplay is like that's cool to me. You know, that's always really cool to me. So yeah.
I was gonna ask, did you ever try Wild Rift, by the way?
I have not tried Wild Rift. I haven't touched it. I haven't downloaded it on my phone. Like I pre-downloaded it from like a while back, but I haven't had the chance to play it. Have you? How do you like it?
I did actually. I figured maybe we could like close off with the whole.
Oh, for sure. Let's talk about Wild Rift. Yeah,
I'm a bit like I think Wild Rift did such a great job with the user interface and like the animation and the graphics, I think they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I can't bring myself to play Wild Rift.
Hmm.
Like, it's just not nearly as rewarding as League. Mainly probably because my fingers are just worse on Wild Rift.
Yeah.
Like, I just suck. I don't know.
I'm sure
Like,
it's got to be difficult for you to switch over from something that you feel runs so smooth on the PC, and then you're switching over to your phone. It feels kind of clunky. So I'm sure
yeah,
that's
yeah,
part of why the
for
the
sure.
separation is there.
And like, I don't know. I'd play Vayne and I'd have to tumble and auto, and it's just like,
Dude, do you see this Twitter video of like some guy playing Yasuo with Wild Rift, and it looks like he's just playing on PC, and he looks insane.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah.
moving like at PC speeds, and I'm like, how do you like dash like that? I can't
Yeah,
even
I don't
dash like
know.
that on PC.
It's actually
Much
so
less Wild
crazy.
Rift.
It's actually so crazy. And for some reason, I don't know how they designed the intermediate bots in Wild Rift, but I get wrecked by the intermediate bots. Bro, I'm not even joking. Dude, you know what? I was playing it on April 1st, and I was so sure that the intermediate bots were actually humans, and Riot was trolling it because they were so good. There was like this one Olaf and Mundo bot, and I don't know. I was having dreams about them because it was actually fucking nightmares. Yeah, but I think Wild Rift did a great job. I can't wait to see like the Wild Rift Pro scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to see how far it would grow. Um, but I also think they have a lot of challenge that they have to face, right? And it's also interesting to me that they removed a lot of mechanics, like for example, Akali. In League you can E into the shroud, and you would leave your like shuriken in the shroud,
And you can eat a shuriken, yeah.
yeah. But in Wild Rift they don't have that mechanic. I have no idea why they removed it, but it's just gone.
A lot of the champions just like aren't actually. Some of the champions are like the same, but a lot of them aren't actually the same. Like they've actually made Vi into a new champion, and I feel like that. I think that's a really interesting concept in that you have this streamlined version of League of Legends that's on the PC, and you have basically League of Legends on a mobile, but there's things that are different. And I feel like that changes the whole meta game of how you're gonna play that. And I find that super interesting. I think that's a really interesting design direction that they chose to go with.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I like that they're catering to the mobile users and also changing some stuff that they think maybe like it's not necessary, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think so the main point for I think why they're doing Wild Rifts is because in Southeast Asia, like mobile gaming is like prime. Like I think most people nowadays game on their phones rather than game on PCs anymore because those are too expensive. Like people would rather play PUBG Mobile or Mobile Legends or Arena, like all these different like MOBA style games, and I don't know why League of Legends wouldn't put their foot in. So obviously they have, and I honestly think it'll do really well.
I also heard a conspiracy theory about how NA helped develop the Wild Rift so that the Koreans and the Chinese would spend a lot of time playing on their mobile.
Yeah.
So that their pros would slowly just get worse, so NA can catch up. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's legit?
I think that's definitely legit. I think NA's tired of not making worlds. I think they need the Koreans to do something else. Otherwise, it's just I don't know, man. I always feel like it always feels really weird to me whenever I watch okay, as an example, yesterday I was watching TSM 100 Thieves. Like no, sorry, not yesterday. A few days ago I was watching TSM 100 Thieves. And sometimes I watch like any programs, and I don't know if it's just me, but like I'll watch the games and I'm like, wait, this is like kind of a shit show. I don't even understand everything that's properly going on, but like the decisions that are being made, the things that are happening like right in front of my eyes are like baffling to me because like I watched so recently, if you don't know, Dota 2 had like a large major type thing. So think about like MSI, but for like Dota 2 scene. And so I was watching a lot of high level Dota, and I was like, oh, this game's so cool. Like there's like a lot of stuff, but I feel like NA specifically, not EU too, but like there's always it kind of feels like a shit show sometimes. Do you feel that way? How do you feel about like?
Yeah, I definitely agree. NA, I mean, it's a shit show, but also it's like a feedback loop in my opinion because like the viewers expect it to be the shit show.
That's true.
And also like everyone is just like looking at it like a shit show. So it's in a lot of ways I think it's unhealthy for the NA scene because it's like I there was one time I had hardly a discussion, but I asked Bjergsen a question because we played like a few games late together. And I was like, do you ever think that like NA just don't get better because we brand ourselves as like a joke region? Do you ever think that that's part of the reason? And I think it actually is. I think in some ways it stems from that too.
That's a very interesting perspective.
Yesterday, I had a support player who's GM, and they were talking to me about how like no, I don't know. I think I was commenting on one of the scrims that they played, and I was saying how like he was being a little bit unprofessional when it comes to like flaming his ADC.
Mhm.
Kind
Mhm.
and like I think criticism is completely fine, but like the way you phrase it and the
Yeah.
way you like portray it should be like
Mhm.
done properly. And then he was saying how like, bro, like we're in NA, like what are we gonna do? Like go pro or or
Mm.
like like why do you care about professionalism? Essentially. And I was like, and I think in some ways maybe the fact that like at the lower level, like maybe GM or like amateur scenes, people don't take it as seriously, somehow like has a butterfly effect coming to like maybe the coaches
Yeah.
or like overall just the entire structure is more slack and just more like for fun. And I think that has something to do with just NA players thinking that NA is a joke region. I think something
Interesting.
to do with that. Yeah.
That's a very
Um
good perspective. Actually, I never thought about it like that, to be honest.
Also, I keep hearing you talk about Dota,
Yeah.
and I heard that recently, Dota banned Smurfs.
Yes. Yes. We have banned Smurf. So it's going kind of okay. Like some accounts that are just like doing like so the whole like this is very recent, like today morning. Like the whole Smurf ban system has been going okay, in
Hmm.
that some people who aren't Smurfs are getting banned for like doing really well, and so we have a new patch and everything. So things are
Hmm.
starting to happen. There's a new hero. So obviously the new hero is completely busted because they want new people to play the new hero. Blah blah blah.
Uh
Normal
huh.
stuff, right? And so some like the recent story was some guy went on like a 15 game win streak with like the new hero, was doing
Uh
really
huh.
well, was getting way above expectations, and the Smurf detected him. Like he wasn't a Smurf, but it was detected that he was a Smurf. And so
Oh,
there's
okay.
this whole controversy where people were like, "Oh, is that your only main? Are you sure that's not a like? Are you sure that's your only account? Blah blah
Uh huh.
blah." And so like there's this whole new. So it's like it's going okay. I think a lot of Smurfs
Hmm.
are getting more banned. There's like I don't know. I think the game's progressing really well. Oh, actually something I don't know if I'm gonna input this into the interview later when I edit it for YouTube. But
Hmm.
so Dota has Dota has a new tutorial, like a really good tutorial.
Uh
And
huh.
if you want to like do some sort of like joint content where you as a league player get the perspective to like play the tutorial and see how that feels for you, and like
Hmm.
give your thoughts and opinions, I feel like that would be really cool if you're willing to do that
Oh yeah,
on
that'd be
like on
cool.
your stream or something. Like if you feel like doing that, I think that would be really cool. Or I could like record
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Also, I was gonna ask,
Mm.
leading to the Smurf question, do you think that's something that's doable for League? Like,
Banning
banning.
Smurfs. Dude, I feel like banning Smurfs is such a weird cuz like even for me, I feel like I think the way that League has tried to deal with this whole issue of like of trying to fix solo queue, right?
Hmm.
I think for League it's a lot more difficult because you guys' player base is so huge. And so
Hmm.
there's like just like one change, like the larger the sample size, the bigger variance there is, right,
Yeah.
for how people react to a certain thing. um I don't know if it's ever going to be possible, man. Way too many people play on their Smurfs. Just like I don't know. um what do you think? I feel like you would have a better opinion. Like, what do you think? Should you be banning Smurfs?
I I don't know. So I I remember I think I tweeted something and I was
Mm,
like, okay, like what if you just ban Smurfs
mm,
for like higher elo players, right?
yeah,
Like Master Plus, Diamond One Plus players, so that like you wouldn't get like some dude that has three challenger accounts. They'd only be grinding on one because
yeah,
like literally benefits no one for this guy to have three challenger
yeah. I
accounts.
think that's like this.
Well, okay, it does benefit him
Yeah.
because he can practice some champ on like a different account or something. But yeah, so that's the only big issue that's very glaring to me when it comes to banning Smurf is what if you want to practice a champ you don't usually play?
Dude, I think that to me I think the biggest issue with especially in League banning Smurfs, I feel
Mhm.
like the content scene would just drop because half League
Yeah,
streamers are like, "Hey, bro, one more unranked to challenger, baby. Let's fucking go. Let's
yeah,
farm
yeah,
some
yeah.
subs.
I
Let's
know.
go, baby. I'm gonna snap on some fucking gold players. It's gonna be a good time. My chat's gonna be happy. Pog." And so, like, I
Yeah.
think if you remove like legitimately remove Smurfing, and like you like let's say like you actually like if a person posted a Smurf on a YouTube video or on a Twitch channel, you would go and like IP ban him like Tyler One. Like,
Mhm.
what would like I think Pants or Dragon would lose his entire YouTube career, would lose his entire Smurfing career. Like, Rat IRL would just like, what the fuck would he do every day? He would just sit there in his dungeon doing nothing. What would these people do?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, so much of content is revolved around smurfing. For
Yeah,
sure.
and Smurfing, right? And I feel like to Riot, at least, as much as they don't want to admit it, like that gets people into their game. Like people want to watch people smurf on other
Yeah,
people, right? And
yeah, definitely.
like I wish you could just ban everything and like everything would work out perfectly. I personally just don't think that the whole. Okay, actually, I wanted to ask you this question. I know this is extending way longer than it's supposed to,
Yeah,
but
I
this is a
don't
good
care.
conversation. Like,
Uh-huh.
what did you think of the whole rule that people that Riot put up about banning DuoQ above Masters? Because I feel like that fucked
Oh,
over a lot of professional players. Like I'm just watching like Hillisang and Upset go into Diamond 1 queues and just farm people, and I'm like, this no one's having
wait,
fun
they
with
do
this.
that?
They
Really?
do,
That's
yeah, dude,
crazy.
because like Hillisang and Upset, they're like, because I watch a lot of their streams.
Mhm.
Basically what they're doing is like, I mean, we don't have any other choice to like grow synergy other than scrims, and we can't just practice in scrims. So we have to do like Diamond 1 games where both of our. So basically what they do is that they stay in Diamond 1, inflate their MMRs to the point where they're getting matched to challenger, and then that's the only way that they can do
Oh, well, I see.
Q.
Yeah, I think that in Master Plus, banning duo for me personally, I quite
Hmm.
like it
Okay.
because I really hated playing against like mid jungle duos.
Hmm.
Because they have so much agency on the map, and like usually it's like maybe like Annie mid plus like melee jungler like Lee Sin or something, and then they would just like completely run the game
Oh.
because they would play like they would play the 2v2, they'd win every single 2v2 at mid jungle, and that opens up the entire map. They would just invade the enemy jungle, and enemy jungle don't get to play the game. And I hated that. I kind of didn't like playing against like
Hmm.
such a specific duo where they just spam Rumble every game or spam Annie every game. And you see it a lot when you play in Diamond 1 queues because that's where all the people are like
Yeah.
piss smurfing and they're just like doing stuff like that. So I think personally part of the reason why I was able to like um reach Challenger
Hmm.
was also to do with the fact that they removed DuoQ because when DuoQ is removed, I also removed the doubt from myself, which is do I need to duo to get better? Or like,
Oh.
do I need to do it to climb? And I think with that removed, I'm able to focus on myself so much more than before, and I'm able to like figure out that okay, so this is the right play, this is the wrong play. I'm not really just like blindly listening to a duo or like trying to like cater to my duo or anything.
Okay.
Um,
That actually
oh
makes sense.
yeah, I think that's it.
No, okay. What do you think about you having to play on 60 ping? Do you think it
Oh, the
matters?
ping issue, the
Yeah,
classic.
yeah. Give me the ping issue.
Well, so I remember Double F raising this
Hmm.
concern up in one of his co-stream about how like it's a different game.
Yeah.
It's a different game. I do agree. I think that playing in a lower ping definitely does help a lot more,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be different when you're playing against like Chinese or Korean pros because they know how far they can push their limit,
Yeah.
and you don't.
Hmm.
So unless you practice in a similar environment, you won't be able to do it in that sense. But I don't think that's the reason why people suck at the game
So why
in
do
NA.
people suck at the game?
Joke region, dude. I don't know. So yeah,
Oh.
I think first of all, labeling yourself as a joke region, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand like yeah, a lot of the macros are weird and sometimes drafts are weird too. So I think definitely like I wish NA just has more coaching and support staff that are more open to like sharing their strategy. Okay, I know it's kind of dumb to share strategy, but like just talk about it with people or
Hmm.
like post games, maybe explain like why they thought this was a good
Yeah.
pick, why they thought like this was a good play, this was a bad play. And I wish there's just more feedback like being shared between the community because usually after a game, right, it's just like a bunch of dudes like flaming like TSM or something, and then no one learns anything from
Yeah.
that process.
Yeah.
And then TSM players just like kind of pretend that it didn't happen and go like, yeah, like it was a rough game, like let's forget about it. No one's learning. No one is
Yeah.
trying to like really like actively trying to improve. And I think that's like part of the reason why I don't personally think the 60 ping thing is a concern until you start competing in worlds. Maybe that's why like NA and stuff like starts losing in worlds.
Mm.
But right now, just watching like NA pro scene and stuff like that, it's like uh, can be said like it's a bit of an embarrassment, and I don't think that embarrassment stems from the fact that everyone is playing in 60 ping.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think I have any more topics to cover, man. That was fun.
It was a really fun
I had a
discussion.
really good
Yeah,
time. Yeah, I had a
yeah,
really
me
good
too.
time. I got to talk
Uh,
about this. I'll honestly, I definitely love to have you on some other time if you want to discuss anything else. Like, if you want to do like, I don't really like run league shows anymore, but if like there's specific like league, I feel like we could do stuff with like specific league topics. That would be really interesting. But
yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely hit you up some other time. If you're
Okay.
interested in that kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you
Sean.
so much as
I
well.
appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a good day, man. Peace
Yeah.
out. I'll see you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.